Rush Limbaugh died on Wednesday at the age of 70. Though his lung cancer diagnosis has been publicly known for months, of course, still his death has managed to feel somehow shocking. That's how it always feels when a man of great consequence and importance reaches the end of his time here on Earth. And that's one thing that nobody can deny about Rush Limbaugh, Rush's life. It was important. It was an important, consequential life. He was a pioneer, a legend. He changed the country in ways that few media figures ever have, ever could, ever will. Anyone who doubts Rush's profound importance need only take a glance at social media. And there they'll find, of course, many people paying grateful tribute to the radio icon and talking about him and all the ways that they were personally motivated by him and influenced by him and shaped by him. But another and perhaps more profound indication of Rush's importance is that all of the worst people in the country, many of the most vile and disgusting ghouls that our culture has produced, have come out to celebrate his death openly and to dance on his grave without shame. Now, I'm not going to amplify any of these people individually by going through a list of all of the filthy, disgusting things they're spewing. Suffice it to say that the phrase "rot in hell" and "rest in piss" were trending minutes after news broke. I mean, minutes after news broke of Rush's death, right away. These are not just random anonymous internet trolls either. I mean, there are a lot of those, but also some of the most prominent left-wing voices who, when they're not laughing at a man for dying of cancer, are busy lecturing us about the need for civil political discourse. Media outlets showed similar lack of restraint. Rolling Stone's headline read, quote, "Rush Limbaugh, right-wing radio host who trafficked in bigotry and cruelty, dead at 70. The Daily Beast was only slightly more subtle, saying, "Rush Limbaugh, the human megaphone who hijacked the GOP, dead at 70. And of course, the fever swamps of the left-wing blogosphere were not subtle at all. Jezebel's top headline was simply, "Good riddance." In other words, the media and the left have showed the grace, dignity, poise, compassion that you'd expect, which is none at all. Rush, I think, deserved better than to have the story of his death become a story about the jerks who are rejoicing over it, but it is worth thinking about, this now familiar routine. We live in a country where this sort of thing happens so automatically that we aren't shocked by it anymore. When a famous person of a certain political persuasion, certain ideological persuasion dies, we expect that Satan and hell will be trending on Twitter because of all the users openly fantasizing about their political enemy roasting eternally in a place that, by the way, they don't even think exists. And that's exactly what happened in Rush's case, right on cue. But why does it happen? It seems insufficient to chalk it up to mere partisanship, mere divisiveness. What's really fueling it? To answer that question, the first thing we have to establish is that this is truly a left-wing phenomenon. I'm not claiming that nobody on the right did any football spiking or made any jokes about the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg or some other recently deceased liberal, okay? What I'm claiming is that those reactions were representative of a definite minority on the right. There has not been a time in my memory, correct me if I'm wrong, when "rest in piss" or anything like it was trending in reaction to the death of a famous, prominent left-winger. I mean, when has that ever happened? For the most part, RBG was eulogized respectfully, both by the left and the right. There are notable exceptions, but those exceptions are just that, exceptions. On the left, the respectful eulogy of political opponents has become itself the exception. An exceedingly rare exception. Shameless celebration is the norm now. It's what you expect to see, and it's what you do see. What drives this, I think, is the same thing that drives cancel culture to a great extent. It's the belief, again, not totally unique to the left, but more prevalent by a wide margin on the left, that people with differing views are bad people. Not just that they have bad opinions, bad ideas, but that they themselves are bad deep down in their souls. The consequence of casting every political disagreement, every alternate opinion, every opposing argument as racism or sexism or homophobia or transphobia or whatever other ism or phobia is that those who are conditioned into thinking this way will come to believe that their opponents are truly and irredeemably evil. So it's easy to make jokes, as I have many times, about the fact that the left calls everything and everyone bigoted, right? But the not so funny reality is that a great many Americans, especially younger Americans, really believe this framing. They really believe it. They've taken it to heart. It is the lens through which they view reality. They look out at the world and they see millions of wicked, worthless, racist, knuckle-dragging subhumans staring back at them. That's the world they see. They don't recognize the humanity of their opponents. They certainly cannot see any goodness or virtue in them. The reaction to Rush Limbaugh's death is not happening in a vacuum. It's not a matter of random anonymous trolls simply trying to get a rise out of people. It's a reflection of our culture and of the ideological divide and of how deep that divide is and of the pure, unbridled hatred that has helped to carve it. Rush was the relentless target of this equally relentless hatred for much of the past 4 decades. As I'm sure he expected, that has not changed after his death. If anything, it's just ramped up. The man achieved many great things and made his mark in many countless and incalculable ways. But one of the deepest testaments to his life is that these sorts of people are rejoicing over its end. May we all hope to have that kind of impact on the world. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.